Well, Broncos country, it's weird to think of a game like this as inelegant as the Broncos win was today here over the Las Vegas Raiders, as something that is a true manifestation of what Sean Payton is trying to build. But in some ways, it is. Maybe even more so than when they dropped the hammer on the Atlanta Falcons last week. This was a grinded out game. This was a game in which the Broncos had to overcome the Raiders, their own ineffectiveness, injuries, playing this game without Zach Allen, and the Raiders really taking advantage of that early on, overcoming the loss of Riley Moss midway through to what appears to be an MCL injury, so definitely not worst case scenario there. Overcoming the offense operating in fits and starts. Even overcoming sometimes where you're prepared and you just play and get beat, because as Sean Payton and Justin Sternad point out after the game, they expected a fake punt from the Raiders like the one they got today. So you have to dig deep. Winning when things aren't perfect is what is essential to success in the NFL. And that is where, when Sean Payton says, hey, this team maybe wouldn't have won this type of game last year, there's some merit to it. It is a tougher team. It is a more resilient team. It is a team that has learned how to be resourceful. But it's also a team that is validating all the moves that have been made to pull that unit together that you saw out there today. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Devaughn Vele. Devaughn Vele had another big day today. Cortland Sutton had the 2 touchdowns, but Devaughn Vele had a series of key catches. And Devaughn Vele looks a lot like Tim Patrick. Now, the Broncos got a lot of heat in some circles for cutting Tim Patrick there at the final deadline, but it was a calculated risk. It was calculating that Tim Patrick may not get back to where he was before 2 injuries that cost him 2 seasons. There's a lot of research that goes into that helped the Broncos come to a decision that the Tim Patrick they got in the future wouldn't be the Tim Patrick who was there in the past. But it's also about Devaughn Vele and understanding that if you play a young player like him, get him out there, live with the mistakes, watch him improve as he grows from those mistakes, you're going to get a productive player. The last couple of weeks in particular, Devaughn Vele is doing Tim Patrick-like things in terms of route running, in terms of moving the football. That is a manifestation of what Sean Payton's trying to do, and it also validates what he's trying to do as well. So Monday may bring some rough moments to the Broncos in their film study as they dissect things that went wrong, even their 4-minute offense. And there's an example of a self-inflicted wound, because 3 passes in the 4-minute offense when the Raiders have 3 timeouts, and you only use 15 seconds, and the Raiders didn't have to use a timeout, that could have cost you. That was a little bit of Charlie mess around out there. But it didn't. It didn't, because when that part of the operation buckled, the defense stepped up and slammed the door shut on the Raiders. That, too, is part of what Sean Payton's trying to build here, is a complete team, one in which the defense can pick up the offense can pick up the defense. And it's really wild to think about how this Broncos team is a blocked field goal at the gun away from being not only 8-4, but from being 8-2 in its last 10 games. And when you're talking in those types of terms, that's legit. That's something you're building on sand. That's not a fluke. And when you're not a fluke, you have the ability in your reservoir to tap into it and win a game when you're not playing at your best. And that's what the Broncos did today. 29-19 over the Las Vegas Raiders. They're 7-5. They're coming back home for Monday Night Football in 8 days. A chance to get to 8-5, a place that they haven't been since 2016. They're still in good playoff position, although those Miami Dolphins are looking frisky. You may want to check them out, and you may want to watch the game on Thanksgiving night when the Dolphins go up to Green Bay, because that's the kind of result that, if it goes the Broncos' way, could provide another layer of buffer for them if they end up bouncing off some jagged rocks here in the coming weeks. But for now, they did what they had to do, and they did it in a way that shows that what Sean Payton is building here is something different than what you've seen in the past. Perhaps headed to the first winning season since 2016, perhaps headed to the first playoff since 2015, and doing so because of the decisions that he's made all over the roster, including a tough decision to move on from Tim Patrick. This, as always, is brought to you by our friends over at Matthews Fine Watches and Jewelry. They have time for you, and I'll have a lot more in the days to come here on Thanksgiving week as the Broncos get back to work and start getting ready for Cleveland coming in on the first Monday of December. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.